KEXP streaming is made possible by Bloodworks Northwest, announcing the Music's in Our Blood campaign, seeking 10,000 new and returning blood donors. Appointments and more at bloodworksnw.org/music. Music's in Our Blood.
From independent music station KEXP, you're listening to In Our Headphones, a podcast about the songs we just can't get enough of lately. This is Lilly Ana Fowler, and this week I'm filling in for Evie Stokes. I'm talking to Vivian McCall of Pansy. Tell us about yourself and Pansy.
So Pansy is a 4-piece rock band that I started as a solo project in Chicago. I made a record a few years ago, right before I moved out here. I've written songs since I was a teenager, and then I was in my early 20s, and just kind of had this huge backlog of music, but had mostly sort of been after high school playing in other people's projects. And I had just sort of started transitioning, and the songs started changing really significantly. They were a lot more clear because I felt like I had a lot to say, and I was feeling and experiencing a lot, and my life was changing so rapidly. So the songs really started just pouring out. Now it's pretty exciting because I have this new EP that I recorded out at in Anacortes, at the Unknown Studio, which is this amazing church. Tons of bands in the area have recorded there. And, I'm already working on the next record, and it all kind of feels like it's happening now, which is really exciting.
Cool. And so would you say that your first record, the music that was coming out of you was about transitioning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And now this record, what would you say is the inspiration for this second record?
Well, the inspiration is more a lot of my songs deal with being trans because that's just what I am. All songwriter songs are just about their lives. And I feel when you transition, it's this huge momentum in your life. It's this, geologic shift where it just feels like the ground is breaking under you, and your relationships with the world and everyone that you know are different. And sometimes they improve and sometimes they don't. Your relationships to love and sex and just walking around and being a person, they're all changed irrevocably. And I think after you go through this initial momentum, it's kind of there's a wave that washes you up on the beach, and then suddenly you're on land and it stretches in all directions, and you really have to figure out okay, I've become this person that I feel like I have always been, and now everybody knows, and there's really nothing monumental about it once you're through that. It's just sort of you're living a daily existence, and you just start to run into all these other issues, and it's you go from that beach and then it just becomes a steep grade, and you're kind of going up this mountain where you're, figuring out not what you are, but who you really are and who you want to be. And I feel a lot of the songs are about that. It's about navigating relationships after that. And then, it's about the ways that people use you and fetishize you. It's the, basics of just having desire, which is that's just what every song is about on some level. And at the time I was listening to a lot of classic power pop stuff. And it was almost kind of frustrating because this is all these guys and they're, able to sing about loving women, and it's so easy and it's so expected, and it's nobody questions it. But I think when you're trans, everybody questions who you love and what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I wanted to sort of claim that for my own and play around in this sort of masculine space, more or less. And that was, a lot kind of came out of that. And I just like the hooks too. The music is really good. And so much of what I do is built around little musical hooks and really tight songwriting. And that's a little bit how this record felt. And like even the title, it's like a surgical term, like skin grafting, because I feel like that's often what someone like me is reduced to. A question of like the ways in which I've like modified my life and body to become this person. And it's like being seen as sort of a sideshow or a curiosity. And even when you feel like you are it's so integrated into your life, you will come up and be sort of surprised when you run into people who really don't get it or people who are really willing to like mistreat you because of that. And I think that a lot of the record is about that frustration and also like finding ways to just like get around it. You know, like I have this song, Walk Dangerous.
I offer freedom and excitement. You can't deny it, oh, you can't deny it. I'm liberated and it's frightening. I see you shaking, oh, I see you shaking.
Which is about like chaser. It's like men who, you know, it's not just men, but it often is, who just like fetishize trans people and like see it as kind of like a kink to be with them and are not forthcoming about that for pretty obvious reasons. I mean, you kind of learn, but it's a painful experience.
And so Skin Graft, that just came out.
Yeah, Skin Graft came out on November 7th.
And you guys are having a record release party, right?
Yeah, we're having a record release party on December 3rd at Tractor Tavern with Torch and all friends here.
Awesome. Okay. Well, and you also brought a song to share. I noticed that this band is also from Chicago.
Yes.
Just like you. Sharp Pins. And the song is I Can't Stop. Tell us about Sharp Pins.
So Sharp Pins is a really cool band because it's like this guy who's in this other band, Kai. He's in this band called Lifeguard, which I think a lot of people are kind of familiar with. And they're, you know, sort of post-punky and rocky. And these songs are way more in like the power pop vein and like they're pretty 60s. And a lot of people will just compare it to like, oh, it's like the Beatles or it's like the Byrds. I think it's more than that. Like, you know, there's this pretty obvious like guided by voices thing, and which is in itself like emulating a lot of that like classic 60s rock and roll. But then there will just be these turns in the song where it's like, you know, you feel these like these big 60s chord changes where it's like super major, super minor. But here, like he will just do something so interesting on guitar where he'll like hit a chord that's like outside of that tonality, and he will do some like really creative walk down or like everything drops out and it's just like the snare drum that's pounding. And one of the things that I find so attractive about this music is that like it feels very raw and real. And in interviews he's talked about how a lot of these songs come together really, really quick. And it feels so electric and immediate and it's so catchy. It's so good. And I think while it is drawing, like the influences are not like hidden, like you can really tell what it's drawing from. It's unique and it really feels like such a genuine expression. I think the song was written when the songwriter Kai was like 17 or something, and it's just very cool and impressive to me. I love it. It's an amazing song. And I just like literally could not stop listening to it. Like I came across it and I think I listened to it until my ears hurt. Like I just like couldn't anymore, but it was just, there's this one part of the song where it kind of like stops and then it does this walk down. It's like doom, doom, doom. And I just like, I kept just listening to that part over and over and over again. I don't know, it's just very clever and exciting. It's just really good. And you just feel him like shooting from the hip on some of this stuff. And they're great. I love it.
So, and you say they, but is Sharp Pins just Kai, or are there other people in Sharp Pins?
I'm pretty sure that it is just like Kai at home, but like I guess like it rather than they. But like the recording limitations, I think it feels like a band, and it's one of those things that like, you know, maybe this is my own kind of bias, but I think, you know, when you're recording by yourself, you kind of do have to become like different people. Like in a sense, you got to change your mindset. You know, like when you're playing bass on your own songs, it's like, okay, I'm the bass player now. What would the bass player do? Or like, what am I going to do for this percussion part? And, well, like I really love playing with other people. Like that's really exciting. It is cool to get in that space because you feel like you're, you know, in the same way that you're like literally slicing up this tape, you're kind of like slicing up your mind musically to try to like act as these different people. And I think it's cool with these recording projects, like what he's doing at home. It's kind of like every song sounds like it's its own, like it's creating its own band. It's like there's enough variation on there, and it's all really great. And this isn't even one of the songs that I think is like particularly popular from these records, which is like mind blowing to me. Like the others are great, but this one just like I can't stop.
Well, he's got a new album coming out, I think.
Yeah.
Balloon. It's coming out November 21st. Is this one of the singles from that album?
No, it was a single on the last one, and it was like initially put out last year, but then was reissued on K Records Perennial. And I'm like a huge K Records person. Like my first tattoo was a Beat Happening cat on a rocket. But yeah, it's actually, that's another thing that I find kind of cool about it, that it's like, oh, it's a Chicago thing, but it has this like Washington connection. It's like neat to me. It's like, that's me kind of thing.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, we have more of his music to look forward to, and he's young. I mean, I think he's just
21.
21.
It's crazy. It's really, and like, it's not like mystifying that like somebody in their 20s is like good at music. Like, of course, that like happens all the time, but it's cool and exciting to see somebody who's like young and doing really just really authentic stuff.
Okay, great. Let's listen to it. This is I Can't Stop by Sharp Pins.
Talking You can listen to all the music featured on In Our Headphones by following our In Our Headphones playlists, available on both Spotify and YouTube. KEXP is an independent, nonprofit radio station and arts organization. This podcast, along with all of our programming, is made possible because of the generous support of our listeners. If you'd like to make a gift to KEXP, you can do so at kexp.org. And if you enjoy In Our Headphones, please write us a review wherever you get your podcasts. In Our Headphones is hosted by me, Evie Stokes, and produced by Lilly Ana Fowler. Audio was mastered by William Myers. Serafima Healy provided production support, and our associate editorial director is Dusty Henry. Our theme song is Gospel for a New Century by Eve Toomer. If you have feedback, you can reach us at headphones@kexp.org.